Is it about changing the problem that's right in
Or is
front
it
of
your
you?
generation's time?
Let's find out.
Hi, I want to speak to you today about the moment it found me. I want to take you back to when I was 11 years old. It's 2001, and I'm on the beach and I'm shooting off fireworks trying to impress my friends. And this old lady comes out and she starts screaming at me about how these lights that I'm shining into the sky are messing with these sea turtles' vision of the moon, so they're not going to be able to get back down to the water. And so I'm with my friends, so being a punk 11-year-old kid, I like, get out of here, go home, get out of here, you old lady. Next morning I wake up and she's in my house having coffee with my mom. So there I am, I know I'm done, I'm in trouble. So I come out after she's gone and I talk to my mom and she says, you need to go down to her house. She's the state permit holder for all the sea turtles on this segment of the beach in Florida. So great, better. Now she's someone who's important that's gonna get me in trouble. So I go down to her house and I'm expecting just to get chewed out by like this 50-year-old lady who's just gonna tell me about how all these awful things I did. And she brings me inside and she starts telling me about sea turtles. And she's not yelling at me, she's just like educating me about these endangered animals. What I was doing with those fireworks was impeding a creature that has been around the earth for 65 million years, and that they're integral parts of the coral systems that they inhabit when they're feeding. And I don't know what happened, just like something all of a sudden snapped. I had never cared about something. And all of a sudden I was asking her like, well, what can I do? Like, what can I do to help protect these sea turtles? And she started telling me, she's like, well, there's not many youths doing anything to protect these sea turtles. And after that day, there wasn't a day that went by where I didn't think about these animals. And over the next 10 years, her name is Linda Soderquist, the old lady. She's going to kill me for calling her that like 4 times in this presentation. We worked 10 years to try and protect these animals together. She had been doing it for a very long time. And what I did was I started doing school presentations because that's what I knew how to do. I started talking to kids about why it was important to protect these animals that I cared so deeply for. And I created this activity book that you see here. And we got it printed in a couple of languages, and she did all the illustrations for it, and it was going really well. To date, in the last decade, we've got 250,000 copies of the book in 5 different languages in 20 countries. And it's going really well. It's the biggest publication about sea turtles in the world. And scenes like this absolutely kill me. And this is the reason I go out there and try and make change. This happens, I think, with everybody who goes out there and finds a passion. There's this one moment when all of a sudden things change. I got a chance to talk to Jane Goodall, who I'm sure many of you know, but she's the person who single-handedly almost saved the chimpanzees in Tanzania and Tunisia area. She was telling me that she went to Africa not knowing about chimpanzees, and then one day she saw this animal, and she said, I know for the rest of my life, I'm going to do something to protect these animals. My mentor in life, a guy named J. Wallace Nichols, he was telling me this story that he grew up in Indiana, super far away from the oceans, and in his pond, he would catch freshwater turtles and paint numbers on the back of them at like 11 years old, and he would go back and recollect them and catch them. What he was doing was a population study on these freshwater turtles in his pond in Indiana, and one thing he did was put a transmitter on a leatherback sea turtle that traveled the span of the Pacific Ocean. And I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but for sea turtle geeks like me, that was crazy. And so that was a big deal. And then I met this lady when I was working in Trinidad. Her name was Suzanne, and as a small child, she grew up on the north coast of Trinidad, where they couldn't go to the beach during the nesting season because the smell of rotting flesh of leatherback sea turtles, where poachers would go and lob off their flippers to make turtle soup of, the rotting flesh of those turtles during the summer made it impossible to go to the beach. So she knew she had to change that. After seeing that one time, she knew that was it. Now that area in Trinidad where I went and stayed and viewed sea turtles is one of the most beautiful places in the entire world, where leatherback sea turtles, who have been around for 65 million years, flourish. We heard earlier about a guy named Dan, who before today I had never heard of. And one day he went to Africa with his family and saw people less fortunate than him. And he knew from that day on he was going to do everything in his life to help those people, and he did. And I think there's these moments for everybody that starts something really passionately, and I think that's the only reason that not all of us are out there doing things like this. We haven't found that one thing yet. Because we all want to make changes in the world. Every morning when you wake up, you make a positive and negative impacts on our world. And there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that make my work with sea turtles look totally trivial. Things that, sea turtles, they're just reptiles that roam the oceans. But there's things going on right now that are insane, that really matter. And I promise you right now, though, if you left this building, we're in New York City, and walked to the nearest Starbucks, you could find something in this city, in Manhattan, where we do very well here, that you could make a big difference in. We all need to do something to protect our world, and I think the only reason we're not all out there doing something is maybe our lives have become a little bit too cushy. You know, I'll be the first to admit, I'm addicted to Netflix. Some days I sit around my boxers all day and watch documentaries because it's amazing. I saw a commercial on TV last night for 3D TVs, and they spoke about how you can get the real feel for this video game. What, the real feel of a video game? That's totally crazy. The real feel of something is when you go out there and actually do it. That's my challenge to you, is that when you leave here, you do something that you haven't done before. You open your eyes, you walk around even the city that you're in, you go to places that you haven't been. You look for things that you can make a difference, because I promise you, once you find that one thing that grabs you by the hand and doesn't let go, that's the hard part. You hear about all these people and they've done amazing things, but it all can be traced back to one moment. And my challenge to you is, if you're not doing something yet, to go find that one moment and make a change. Thank you very much.